going on in the city today. This would not be possible if we didn't have great sponsors. So I want to recognize our sponsors at this time. Of course, our good friends, and they have a hand in a lot of the things that are going on in the city. The Downtown Development Authority, Patilio, who has a wonderful building going up. Kept looking forward to that opening up. The Pete Garcia Group, Peachtree Benefit Group, as well as Discovery Cab. Our associate sponsors, Children's Healthcare, Dimitri DiCarlo, and then of course we have some table sponsors, and we appreciate all of you and all of your efforts. Thank you so much. There are a good number of elected officials in here, and I don't want to try to call the names. So if you're an elected official, would you please stand? I'm sure I'd miss somebody if I tried to name everyone. Would you please stand? And this is an election year, so if you are a candidate, would you please stand? You're candidates too. This is not Chicago, and we can't vote early and often. Where's the chief? Chief, would you mind coming up and for our pledge? And guys, would you mind standing while he's on his way? Here we go. We got the flag on the program. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Jeff, would you mind joining us, please?
Good morning. My name is Jeff Rogers. I'm the assistant pastor at Chamblee First Methodist, and I was asked to come and share the invocation with you. So if you would, please bow with me for a word of prayer. Almighty God, we thank you this morning for the beauty of your creation. We thank you this morning for each and every person that's in this room, for the organizations that they represent. We give you thanks for the people that they represent. And we praise you because we know that you love each and every person in this room and each and every person that they represent. God, as we go throughout the business of this morning, as we go and talk about this city that we love, we ask that you be with us, that you give us your grace, that you remind us of your love, and that we would feel your presence and your patience and just your mercy for each and every one of us. So, grant us the power to go through this with love and generosity in our hearts. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Carter. I am the chairman of the Chamblee Downtown Development Authority. Being here today is a great honor, and I'm happy to give you all an update on what we've got going on. I recognize that we have a lot of Chambleans in the audience, Chambleeites, residents of the actual center of the universe. It's curious that we don't really know what to call ourselves, but I think that actually is a bit of a metaphor for what Chamblee is going through at this time. Chamblee sits at a crossroads in a way that it never has before, Development is working its way out from the center of the city out to the perimeter. Chamblee is one of the last communities in that path. The city could have chosen to not participate in that. It could have chosen to sit back, let private development do what private development does and see where the chips fall. I'd like to thank Eric Clarkson for choosing to go a slightly different path. Eric formed or caused the DDA to become activated 5.5 years ago, and since that time it has been the most interesting thing I've ever done to watch our city develop and grow. We started with a couple of small projects. We had some charging stations that we had put in, some electric car charging stations, and then we found ourselves looking at much bigger developments. The Batilla development, Trackside, the SLX development, for example, are examples of how the public entity, which is the Downtown Development Authority, can partner with private entities to develop a better building structure and a better community on an ongoing basis. SLX in particular was an old Nissan dealership, and they could have left it as a Nissan dealership, but they came to us and said, help us turn this car lot, this car facility, into something better. And because they were willing to be open-minded and they came to us and we were able to work with them, we now have a luxury development going up in Chamblee, and we've never had a luxury development going up in Chamblee before. Trackside, of course, is sitting across the street from the MARTA station and is going to help Chamblee emphasize its commitment to alternative transportation methods. So maybe people that work there don't have to drive the car and don't have to be on Peachtree Boulevard and stopping up traffic and slowing all of us down from where we're going. They can just get on the MARTA. And now, as we start working through our town center plans, the emphasis is on walkability of the community. The emphasis is on how do we direct the traffic around and through Chamblee in a way that makes the community itself more productive, and it becomes a blueprint for the greater Chamblee area. Maybe we become a model for how other cities do it in our immediate area. It has been incredibly interesting to watch happen. It's been a thrill to be the chairman of the Downtown Development Authority during this time. It has been a thrill to work with the City Council and the Mayor, who have enabled us to go forward and to participate in this. The sky's the limit for what Chamblee can offer from here. We've got the framework together, we have the momentum together to build a more vibrant community. And 50 years from now, if I'm still around, I hope I can look back on this and say, you know what, we made a lot of the right decisions. People are walking through a vibrant downtown, they're having a cup of coffee, they're reading at the library, they're having a beer, they're listening to music, whatever it is they're going to do. But they came to Chamblee because Chamblee branded itself as a community that wants people to come here and enjoy themselves. And so whether we call ourselves Chambleans or Chambleyites or residents of the actual center of the universe, as we go through this rebranding of what Chamblee is, that rebranding is consistent with Chamblee's values. And I think those values 50 years from now will show that we are making the right decisions. And I can't wait to look back and see what that is. Thank you all very much for having me today.
Residents of the actual center of the universe. Those aren't aliens, are they? just want to make sure.
No,
Okay. So she'll say. This morning I thought would be a challenging morning. I got a call on my way in from the mayor, and he was struggling a little bit. He told me he was stuck in a traffic jam on I-85. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm watching the news, and I see this autonomous shuttle just cruising down the highway. So I think, as we continue to work on improvement in technology here, someone needs to tell him those things don't like going faster than 25, and 85 might not be the best place for him. But he's here. I see he made it, so we're in good shape. On a more serious note, it's great to be with you all here this morning. It's a great era for our city. Businesses are thriving, development is booming, health and wellness offerings are expanding, as are opportunities for our seniors to age in place. We're in the process of delivering our first Class A office building, and we continue to be at the forefront of technology. Green space abounds, and the movement to eliminate roads in favor of fully connected streets and pedestrian connectivity continues to move forward. Of course, this would not all be possible without the guidance of a man and a true visionary who's been leading the city for the last 20 years. I gotta take out my notes for this one because I cannot remember all of the things that he's done since he's been here. Mayor Clarkson has long been a champion for all things Chamblee. Whether it was volunteering on the Architectural Review Board or serving on the Board of Directors for the Georgia Municipal Association, Mayor Clarkson gives it his all. Eric serves as the DeKalb Mayor's appointee to the Atlanta Regional Commission and also serves on the ARC's Transportation and Air Quality Committee. He's chairman of the Metro Atlanta Mayors Association as well as chairman and founder of the Peachtree Gateway Partnership. His passion for public service knows no bounds. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a distinct honor for me to introduce my good friend and our mayor, Eric Clarkson.
Thanks, Darren. That was great. That's a little bitty podium. I don't know where I'm supposed to put all my stuff here. I should have looked at this earlier, right? Tell my kids not to procrastinate, and I do it myself. So. Anyway, again, thank you, Darren. Appreciate it. Thank you all very much for being here. David said he was going to come up here and get y'all loosened up by, telling a joke or doing a soft shoe. Since he actually kind of gave the state of the city, I'll do the soft shoe. And, David, those are great remarks. Where'd you go? We see you sitting right there. That was awesome, bud. Thank you so much. So I guess I'll start by saying greetings. Welcome. Look at this room, man. I walked in and I said, well, why are all these tables here? I can't believe we're drawing this kind of crowd, and it's a testament to everybody who's sitting out here in this room and those that couldn't be here with this morning. Truly is such a wonderful group effort to watch how this city has come along. I'd like to thank some special people that are here. The Chamber, thank you so much for putting this on for us. Appreciate that. The Marriott, for hosting us now for, I don't know, what is our third or fourth year or so. I didn't recognize the place when I walked in. I don't know about some of y'all that hadn't been here for just a little while. They've done a wonderful job here. Our sponsors, those have been named, but I've always said, we could not thrive as a city without our corporate citizens. And it's always been true here in Chamblee, and the sponsors' names that you see here, a lot of them have been very long time community citizens or sponsors in the community, and some are very new to our community. We're glad to have them, and I think you're going to see us add quite a few more names to that list going forward. Especially like to thank our city manager, John Walker, and his staff. John's holding up the wall back there. Brian's helping him hold it up. But you know what? We've got a great staff. City council, we've got a great city council. I told folks all along, we got a council that works together about as well as you can get any group of A-type personalities that are willing to go knock on doors and tell people their platform. It's not always easy to get a group of folks with those same desires and passion to come together and work together. But I want to recognize them individually. I see Tom Hogan sitting there, Leslie Robson, of course you saw Darren, he introduced me. John Mesa sitting right back there. And of course the wonderful Brian Mock helping John hold up the wall back there. I appreciate your help. I was standing back there holding it up a minute ago. So appreciate you guys, as I said, and our DDA members, thank you all very much. We've got a team right now assembled that is really, I'll put them up against anybody around the metro and anywhere. It's a really good group of folks from, again, our staff, our council, our DDA. We really appreciate y'all. All of the other elected officials that are here, I know y'all stood up, and I won't try to recognize y'all because if they'd given me a list, I would have done that. But we've got, state senators here, state representatives, people representing our county commission. Former CEO, Leanna Levitan's here. I see her sitting in the front row. Leanna's such a wonderful friend. I appreciate her being here. She's a legend in her own right. And so to have those kind of folks coming here to listen to your truly talk just kind of blows my mind anyway. But I got to give a special shout out to my wife, Lynn. She hates it when I do this. She begged me not to, so I don't know. If anybody's got a couch I can sleep on tonight, I'm not going to be able to go home. But look, it's a fact, Lynn. I could never have done any of this without your support. Really. I mean, it takes a lot of time. It takes time away from the family. Of course, my kids are, moving out of the house these days, and so they're not around as much as they were. But man, when they were younger, it was really hard on Lynn. So Lynn, thank you very much, and I really appreciate your support. Let's see if I can tell you all a couple things that maybe David or Darren didn't tell you already. This year, Chamblee celebrates 110 years. Man, it just seems like yesterday we were celebrating our 100th anniversary. But this is what I'm going to tell you about the state of the city of Chamblee. Chamblee is en fuego. I should just dropped the mic and walked off right now. It's kind of hard to drop this. Anyway, but I think it's time to look back, because so much of our time is spent moving forward at a rapid pace. Everything we do just seems to be going forward so fast, and not in everyday life, but in what we're doing here in the city. But to share with you a little bit about the history of Chamblee, kind of get a perspective of where we are right now. Chamblee was a railroad stop from halfway between Terminus, which was, is now Atlanta, and Roswell. It's called Roswell Junction. It was dairy farms. That was just a sleepy little area with dairy farms and railroad. Chamblee was at the epicenter, really, of 2 world wars, with the Camp Gordon showing up here in World War I, and then that same base being turned into Naval Air Station in World War II. There was the building boom of the mid-century industrial park that took over in this area. And Chamblee really was a true live-work play center in that day when you had a lot of factories operating there, and a lot of folks that worked in those factories lived within walking distance of there. Fast forward, we went through a recession, and that was really challenging. I'll tell you, one of the things that really struck me, and it struck me after it happened, but one of the things that I was asked by an 8th grader at Chamblee Middle School. I was talking to their 8th grade class about civic awareness. I forget exactly what the topic was, but in the question period, one of the students asked me, what's the hardest thing I've had to do being the mayor? And it just came right out. And thinking back on it, it's kind of odd that would come out. But I said, the hardest thing to do was really holding to that vision that David talked about when he was up here, holding on to that vision through the recession. There were a lot of pressures. There were a lot of pressures put on the council, a lot of pressure put on private property owners to be able to try to do something. And we held on through that time, and fortunately the things turned, and we were able to then continue to see that same vision that we had planned for. But it got me to start saying something that I said, you got to have a plan, and you got to stick to that plan parcel by parcel, block by block, year after year. And I might credit to all of y'all in here who have worked with us to help us stick to that plan. Chamblee has been the center of immigration for years, and it's helped shape what we are as a community. I said too that looking back at my history teaches me that Chamblee's really kind of represented the immigration patterns that have happened in the United States, and you've seen those waves come through, and the immigration pattern you see coming through the city right now is very indicative of what you see nationally. And so I think that shows that a lot of folks moving into our area and adding quite a bit to the fabric of our community. And so Chamblee's done extremely well growing as a community during all of these changing times. Most importantly, at this point, we're working hard to take the right steps to make sure Chamblee is in a position, for the next 100 years. David, I don't think I'm going to be here 50 years from now, bud. I mean, that would be great, but I'm sure as hell I'm not going to be here 100 years from now. But seriously, I tell folks all the time, we're not planning for the next development cycle. We're not planning for the next, our lifetime kind of cycle. We're planning for our children's and our grandchildren's life cycle, and that's something I think is important. So as we celebrate this 110th year anniversary, I think we'll look at this state of the city a little bit differently. So some of you may know, some of you probably don't know, but something we get every week from our city staff is a weekly report, and it really, in that weekly report, it outlines steps that we're taking to achieve basically 5 goals that we have for the city. First goal is creating a greater sense of community identity. Second goal is developing and maintaining strong multimodal transportation connections. Third is promoting a healthy and safe living environment. Fourth, providing quality government service through partnership and cooperation. And the fifth is supporting a thriving business environment. So kind of breaking it down into those. First one, taking notes. John Mesa, there's going to be a test on this later. I'm going to make sure you're taking notes on this, all right? So the first one we go back to is creating a safe, a greater sense of community identity. In public safety, the first Citizens Police Academy was completed. So that was really exciting. I think it surprised me. I don't know if it surprised anybody else on our council that we had so many people that were interested in the Citizen Police Academy. And I think it was a spin-off from the Chamblee 101 program. One of the things I think we should be most proud of about in our city. And if you haven't been through Chamblee 101, if you have the opportunity, I would suggest that you do it. It's a great opportunity to go through and learn about how the city operates. But in that, it's a 7-week program, 1 night a week. And early on, I think in the second year or so, we realized you had to do 2 nights for the police department. And I always say this because they always have all the coolest toys, right, Chief? You got all the cool toys over there. But quite frankly, it's the largest department of almost any municipality you're going to go into. And there's a lot to learn. But there was so much interest in the police department through Chamblee 101 that the city formed the Police Academy, and I think that's awesome. The Cop and Stuff is an organization that formed. It's a nonprofit organization, does fundraising and other activities. And through COP and stuff, they did some fundraising for hurricane relief down in Florida. That was really exciting. COP and stuff also has Shop with a Cop. Sounds like a good time. Each child, sort of, right? But this year, officers took 30 kids shopping at Walmart, and each child got $200 worth of stuff. That's pretty cool. Then the police department participated in at least 16 events, coffee with a cop, lunch with a cop, and smart 911 signups. So our police are eating really well, right? So community engagement in social media has grown exponentially since PR department took over. Facebook followers grew by 57%, Twitter followers by 41%, and they started up Instagram in September. I wouldn't know what Instagram was, but my kids are on it. So, you know, us old folks are on Facebook. Kids are on that. So the city introduced its first annual report. Y'all even grab one of these, man. Look, grab it on your way out. And this is good stuff. There you go. Senator Miller's got one. This is really good stuff, guys. I mean, it's amazing to see that we can put together something like this that talks about the annual report and actually put it out and give it to people. I say it's amazing because we've just never done something like this. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. But if you look in the back page, when you get one, the headlines that we've received just in the last year are mind-boggling. It's so cool. The Signal, which is the city's magazine, and I like how that's put there. I got some help from Tisa and our PR department to put this together. And I always thought of it as a newsletter, right? But when she gave me some notes to kind of go from here, you know, she called it a magazine. And it was redesigned to give it a fresh look. So if you check out the Signal, it really gives it more of a lifestyle magazine appeal as opposed to just a newsletter. And the Signal is something that I've always felt really passionate about over the years that I've been on the council, and that's because it's a wonderful way for us to continue to communicate with our residents and business owners. And so this last year, we started producing the Signal in Spanish as well. So to incorporate a better content strategy, we improvement, there you go. Try saying that real fast. The Chamblee website was redesigned. It was interesting. One of the first council meetings my wife and I ever went to was when there was a conversation about whether the city should even have a website. There was a debate amongst the council about where we should even chat. So you can see we've come a very long way in a relatively short period of time. This year, 32 press releases were issued, 96% pickup rate. These releases resulted in 32 AJC articles and generated 3,597 news stories and 4,862 social mentions. Something else I've been talking about, and you just look at the back page of the annual report there, you'll see I've been telling folks, how are things going in Chamblee? I said, I'll pick up a business chronicle, pick up a journal, any other number of prominent news sources, and probably at least once every other week, if not once every week, Chamblee's being mentioned and in a positive light in one of those. So Parks and Recreation, we acquired Canfield Park in 2016. It was a house over in the Ashford Park area of the city. The council saw an opportunity to pick up a house and took down the house and put in a new pocket park over there. We just cut the ribbon on that in the rain on Sunday. And for those of y'all that came out, we appreciate you being there in the rain. This year we collaborated with Trees Atlanta. We hosted a planting. 45 trees were planted in Dresden Park. Citizen survey was done for Dresden Park in July. We had 350 responses on that citizen survey that talked about just new improvements that we can make to Dresden Park. This is one of the things I was really excited about. We had a Chamblee Rail Trail Makers Festival back last September, and there was a Play Me Again piano installed. So public art, but actual working piano underneath the Claremont Bridge, and it has a name Irving. So that could be a good question on some type of a survey at some point, if you know what the name of the piano is. But it's under the Claremont Bridge. One of the things I was most excited about the Rail Trail Makers Festival was that it was really organically grown. It wasn't something that came from staff or a council member. It was folks in the community that said, hey, we want to celebrate this rail trail under the Claremont Bridge and really highlight what the asset this is to the great city. And folks came and they got support from others in the community and support from the city and put on a festival. And those are the kind of things I think you're going to see a lot more of going forward. We did a groundbreaking ribbon cutting held at Dresden Park for the DeKalb County Fallen Officers Monument. Big shout out to Charlene Bang, who helped us put all that together. But it's a beautiful monument in remembrance of all of the officers that have fallen on the line of duty in DeKalb County. If you had a chance, go by and look at it. It's really neat. We did 10 park cleanups. Were completed with Keep Chamblee Beautiful. I can't say enough about Keep Chamblee Beautiful. what a great organization. And it's one of those things I've been able to witness as I've been on the council now, 17 or so years, that Keep Chamblee Beautiful is one of those organizations that we just kind of held together. And then as everything else starts to really thrive around here, you've got folks that had kept Keep Chamblee Beautiful together and then infused with some new blood, and it's doing phenomenal things. There were 3 Eagle Scout projects completed in the city, and the city added 26 acres of parkland with the purchase of land along Savoy and the former Hearn property on Buford Highway. This is just, I mean, beyond exciting that in a very urban and urbanizing area that we live in, that you can find that much green space to purchase and to keep as green space. But what we had hoped, what we plan to do on the property that's along Savoy Drive behind the business of Savoy is our rail trail. We'll go through there, and we're looking to help hopefully support some and improve some development along Savoy Drive. If any of y'all have been down to the Beltline and at the Old Fourth Ward Park, kind of think of Old Fourth Ward Park with an amenity, regional detention, and opportunity to try to help spur some more development and connectivity along Savoy Drive, as you see that connection around 285, connecting from Perimeter through Georgetown and over to Assembly. This is a key point, and so I think that was a key purchase of property. The Hearn property is really exciting, something I had my eye on for ever since we annexed that area down there, and I think if you look at it, I spend way too much time looking at the world from 30,000 feet. But if you look at it, you'll see that you've got the Hearn property, you've got Dresden Park, and then you have Pius High School right there. And with all that connected, I think we have a real opportunity to put in some type of a sports-oriented development area in there. We're talking with different groups about use agreements, soccer programs, lacrosse programs, baseball programs. We're looking to put some fields in there and some other facilities that would, I think, really enhance that part of Buford Highway. So that's very exciting. I will, at this point, say and thank very much our council, our staff, for supporting this opportunity to add all of this green space. I think that shows the dedication that they have to not just developing the city in the way that some of us really recognize, and that's the big, beautiful buildings that we see coming out of the ground, but also in the way of quality of life issues as well. So the second goal, and they're not all that long, all right, but the second goal is develop and maintain a strong multimodal transportation connections. In Chamblee, we contracted to pave approximately 8.3 miles of roadway in 2017. We completed 3 new streetscape projects, 1 mile of paving, approximately 1.5 miles of new sidewalk along with those streetscape projects. So back a couple years ago, we took over maintenance of our roads from the county, and the council made a real strong move, bold move, to be able to do that without a funding mechanism to make it all happen. And then the voters of DeKalb County gave us a SPLOST. So we'll have some more money to be able to put towards some more of those transportation projects, so you'll see more going forward. Here's something that I'm just super excited about. Last year, I had the opportunity, and I think some of you in the room have been along on the Atlanta Regional Commission link trips to go to different cities. Was up in Detroit last year, and seeing all sorts of innovative ways that the automotive industry is going in. And one of the things I saw was some autonomous vehicles and autonomous shuttles. And I said to somebody there that works in the industry, I said, we want to do that in Chamblee. So this individual worked with a company called Stantec. So within a couple months, we were convening a meeting in Chamblee with some very intelligent people that know about this type of stuff, everything from the legislation that may be needed in order to run these vehicles on our streets, to the infrastructure there, to the technology itself. Some stuff that it was flying way over my head, but I can tell you it was one of the most exciting moments I've had watching these people all talk about how this may happen in our city. Fast forward a couple more months, we brought to the council an opportunity to do a feasibility study to run an autonomous shuttle around Chamblee. This company, Stantec, offered 65% match grant for us to be able to do this. The council appropriated the rest of the money. Feasibility showed that we were I call it a target-rich environment, but we're very rich in the assets that we have of what would work very well. This company only did, I think, a handful or so of these studies across the country. We were one, and when they presented to us, they said we had, if not the best, one of the best opportunities to connect with. You've got the airport, you've got a fixed rail station, you've got the employment center at CDC and IRS, and the employment center that's happening up in Assembly, and then all the other developments happening around here. And so Councilman Mock and I made a trip up to Baltimore. We got to ride around in one of these vehicles, and found out that this is actually something very feasible that would work in our city. So we're working with Stantec and with some others, with the developers up at Assembly, in order to look to see about connecting those assets with an autonomous shuttle. And then as part of that process too, something else, our citizens, our city residents and stakeholders, we're all very much involved in this process, and we held an event that was really fun along Peachtree Road where we blocked off one lane and allowed people to walk and stroll up and down and check out all the different things going on Peachtree Road and to show that it really could be more pedestrian friendly. Promoting a healthy and safe and living environment. Our police purchased some new software that allows them to extract data from digital storage devices such as smartphones, PDAs, cell phones, GPS, and tablet computers. I think it might have been easier if they just called Zuckerberg. He might have been able to get all that information for them. But now we have new software, so we're going to try to keep up with Facebook, I guess. This is really a real neat thing. Our police officers reversed 5 opioid overdoses using Narcan. And that was huge, right? And our city is committed to providing these this life-saving drug in our officers' cruisers. This reminds me that, not too long ago, we were one of the first communities that put defibrillators in all of our police vehicles as well. Most times in a city the size of Chamblee and with the officers where we have them all over the place, our officers are a lot of times the first one on the scene of an emergency. So equipping our officers with these tools is a huge testament to our commitment to saving lives in the city. Community-oriented police division conducted 10 self-defense classes and attended 30 neighborhood watch and community meetings. We've upgraded our 911 center. Public Works completed 18 stormwater repair projects, making sure all the water flows out of the streets well. And Chamblee residents diverted 13.2% of solid waste to landfill alternatives through household recycling. So we're recycling quite a bit. So 4th goal out of 5, we're getting there. Providing quality government service through partnership and cooperation. I'm just a huge believer in partnerships. It's just the way I was raised, and coming from a sales background, I realized you don't get anything done in adversarial relationships. And so I think we try really hard to partner with a lot of folks. The police department implemented, and I can't even pronounce it, a new public safety software suite. And so we've got courtware, a new system including false alarm records, invoicing, criminal history, billing, Parks and Recreation software, MyRec. So basically it's saying we have partnered with a lot of folks in the IT sector in order to bring the latest and greatest technologies into our workplace so that we can make our city more accessible to others and more functional. And I said, I'd written down here again, we've come a long way since that first council meeting that I went to where they were debating about whether we should have a website or not. And then also, one of the neat things is all of our police officers now have been issued take-home vehicles. And this helps a lot, both from officer retention. As you may notice, that it's getting more competitive and it's kind of tough to be a police officer these days. And so I've always felt like, you take care of your employees will take care of you. And so, and it also helps serve the city in a lot of other ways as well. It saves time during shift change, where officers don't need to swap out cars. Officers tend to take better care of a car that they know they're going to be driving every time they're in it. And the other thing I think about, there's lots of talk in our town center, and I'll get to it about, where a police station belongs or where it doesn't belong in town center. Anymore, the officers in their cars, that is their office. They have all the equipment they need right there, and they're very mobile. So having take-home cars not only helps keep some of our officers with us and help us attract good officers, but it also makes the city more efficient. So the 5th goal we had was support a thriving business environment, which many of you here were talking before the chamber. You're in the business world here. In planning and development, we updated the Unified Development Ordinance, or the UDO. It went through a comprehensive update to make it more user-friendly and more effective implementation of city goals. One of the things I've said for a long time, I think when I first got elected, I said, when somebody walks in the front door of City Hall, whether they're going to put a carport on the side of their house or they're going to develop a multi-million-dollar planned unit development, I want them to understand what is expected of them in that process. And so I think we've come a really long way. I think we're getting there. I think updating the UDO is, in order to try to make it more user-friendly, helps in that way quite a bit. Through the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP funding, we will conduct the city's very first comprehensive transportation plan It will define and prioritize projects that maximize infrastructure investments throughout the city for the next 10 to 20 years. The city's never undertook a comprehensive transportation plan. As I said before, we've relied on the county in the past and found that we could do it a little better. We learned from some of our friends in the newer cities of Dunwoody and Brookhaven as they've kind of they took on that responsibility and did some more planning. That would probably be a good idea for us to do some of that ourselves. And we applied for a grant. We're given the money to conduct that. So that'll be there'll be a large stakeholder process through that. So I would ask some of you, or all of you, to get involved in that. We have completed a concept plan for Peachtree Road streetscape and the extension of the rail trail. As I mentioned the rail trail earlier, it doesn't go real far right now, but we have big visions for it. But we're a lot further along than you might think. We had a town hall meeting the other night, and somebody said, I know this is going to happen pretty soon, but what about this, the rail trail? I said, it's going to happen much sooner than you think it's going to happen. You know, as was mentioned earlier, I sit on the Transportation Air Quality Committee at ARC. And as a subcommittee of that, we pulled together folks to talk about trails around the metro area. And from that committee, we came up with a statement that was then adopted by the full ARC board, and that was that Metro Atlanta would have the nation's largest interconnected trail system in the next 5 years. And so with the ARC putting the kind of backing behind that, the things that you see that the General Assembly has done in supporting more transit and mobility options, you're going to see us being able to put in these trails, make Peachtree Boulevard, make Buford Highway and other places more accessible through other alternative modes of transportation. And as I mentioned, Buford Highway, we completed a Livable Centers Initiative study, a joint study with our friends in Dorville. Mayor Pittman sent me a message. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. I think she'd pay me back because I couldn't make it to her State of the City speech, so you know, tip for tat. Don't tell Donna I said that. But I had an excuse. It was my birthday last week. Oh, and also, Brian, you didn't get to sing happy birthday. So usually this falls like right about my birthday. So we had to extend it a week because I was out of town last week. But so Brian had everybody sing happy birthday to him. I'm glad we got to avoid that this year. So just kind of wrapping up some other notable events that we've had. This is something, again, very proud of. I've sat on the ARC board for 5 years and watched communities roll in front of the board and be given awards. This one is a designation for Green Community Certification from the Atlanta Regional Commission. And I challenged, and our council had challenged for years our staff to say, hey, we want to receive one of these green community certifications, and so we received a bronze certification this year. So I was really excited about seeing our city come up there and be recognized in front of the entire ARC board. The city of Chamblee made significant progress in the development of the downtown. So David told us all about what's going on in the town center, but that's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, folks. And it's interesting. I've been part of a couple swing and miss at town center developments in 17 years, and I say true downtown around our municipal area. As I mentioned the history of Chamblee, all of those uses that I mentioned that came before really didn't foster a true kind of town square, town center. And that's something I think that folks have longed for here for a very long time. And we've tried since I've been on the council, and somebody asked me at a meeting the other night when I was talking about this, said, do you really think it's going to happen this time? And I said, no, it's really happening this time. For lots of reasons, but not least of which is the team that's assembled right now to make that happen. They're committed to a unified goal to make this happen. So as David said, the Downtown Development Authority is purchasing some property along with the city property. We're going through a process. We have Seven Oaks. Some of you may know Bob Boyles and his team over at Seven Oaks. The DDA chose them as their preferred developer. They're helping work through with Bob Hughes at HGOR, which is a world-renowned land planning firm, to design, and we've had several charrettes, and so we're moving forward with making that happen. So we certainly have come a long way in 110 years, but the best is still yet to come. 50 years from now, when David's still here having coffee, I'll be looking down on him going, man, I hope that's a good cup of coffee. But some of the things to talk about, we're actually beginning to do the work on Peachtree. I mean, it's not just planning, we're sticking shovels in the ground. Our town center plans going forward, we're working with DeKalb Watershed to coordinate the repair and placement of major sewer infrastructure that I'm sure you all read about that we've had problems with. We're working closely with DeKalb County. I think they've finally gotten it together and are working to make that happen. So, well, I could go on, but I know you all are getting tired of listening to me talk. So with that, I'll just say, hey, thank you all very much. God bless you, and God bless the city of Chamblee. time for you. You're too kind. Did I save any time for questions? Did you either? I saw a Q&A in the program. I don't want to set myself up here. If anybody has any softball questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But no hardball questions.
You want the one you planned?
What's that?
I'll give you the one you planned with me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, please do. Thank you, Fran.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the cooperation between Chamblee, Brookhaven, Doraville, and Dunwoody, where you guys are? Because I think for the first time since I've been in the legislature, I started getting emails from all these various mayors on the same day. So I think Megan would agree with me that I do think from the standpoint of where you're trying to go with green space and connectivity and consistency, particularly on Peachtree. I can't keep track of the name on Peachtree Road anymore, but from that perspective, do you see this thing continue to go forward with these other?
Sure, yes, sir. I appreciate it. That's a great question, and we did change the name to Peachtree Boulevard just to confuse everybody because there weren't enough peach trees, in the city already. But one of the things I've recognized in my time in office is the benefit of being in a city, and nothing against my very good friends in county form of government, but cities are just much more equipped to handle very local issues. And so, I've been elected long enough to have watched Sandy Springs come online and then subsequent cities after that. I saw a lot of cooperation going on amongst cities. And one of the things I heard during the rise of the Dunwoody movement and Brookhaven movement, well, we were just balkanizing Atlanta and we're just creating mini fiefdoms and everybody's just going to compete for the same stuff. And I said, no, I really didn't see it that way. But then I thought there's got to be a better opportunity to put some of this to good use. So I saw some organizations around the metro that were working really well together, and they're 501c6 organizations, true private-public partnerships. And so I went to my friends at the Atlanta Regional Commission who had helped set up a couple of these groups and said, hey, we've got these assets around this area, and we've got 4 cities in North DeKalb, and how can we do a better job of working very closely together? And so we formed the Peachtree Gateway Partnership. It's humming along really well. There's several things that came out of that. The very first thing we did, and I see former Mayor Mike Davis sitting over here, he was hugely instrumental in helping me get that off the ground. And one of the first things we looked at was interconnected trail system. It didn't make any sense for us to make a track that ran around Chamblee and Dunwoody didn't make a track that ran around Dunwoody. So ARC produced a 30,000-foot look at interconnected trail systems. Then the private sector side of the folks on our board were really looking at a CID and how beneficial a CID could be. So we brought in folks from Perimeter CID and Gwinnett Village CID and others to talk to us about what it looked like. And they're pretty far down the road in creating a CID for somewhere around in this area right now. And so then the other thing is it got to, Fran, we started talking about how we coordinate our message, and how do we get our message across to our state representatives. Again, something I've learned, state here, city here, and county here, right? And the state passes a lot of times, things that we may not like, but we have to rule or do our job. But a lot of times it's enabling legislation that enables us to do things like put in more trails, like run autonomous vehicles on our road. And we have found that we've got some great representatives. As I talk about the team that we have around here, we've got some great state representatives that help and that listen to us. But we found that we were united in those things that really connected, and that a lot of those things were stuff that we needed to talk to our state representatives about to make sure they heard us. So we're working very closely with as those cities. But then beyond that, you've heard about Revive 285, and we've met with the GDOT commissioner and chief engineer and others, and there's a different name. So you want to talk about confusing, there's a different name now for Revive 285. I'll always call it Revive 285, so I guess I'll have to forgive some people who still say Peachtree Industrial. But we're talking about how do we connect transit across this. So we've got a group that we formed. It's still very much in its infancy. I see Denny sitting over there, Mayor with me, Denny from Dunwoody, that are on this group, and really, for lack of a better name, we're the North Perimeter's Mayors Association. But our main objective right now is talking about, we got Mayor Max Bacon over in Smyrna talking with us about connecting with transit, across the top end as part of Revive 285. Well, come to find out, transit was in that discussion early on, but then the commissioner told us, well, absent of any true champion for transit, it's not in the plan. There's no plan. I'm like, why? So I said, as serving on the ARC, I sat down there at a board meeting, I said, why are we investing so much money, billions of dollars, into 50-year-old technology when we need to be trying to find some way? So that's another way that, Fran, that group spins off other better conversations. I think through those conversations with cities, you're seeing now the first talk of a transit connection, heavy rail between Doraville and Norcross. So we got Gwinnett talking about it. I was over at an event yesterday in the new Comcast building over at the Battery. And several folks were talking there about, you know, Cobb County, and thank you to our state representatives for getting some legislation passed that allows us to form the ATL. If you have not heard about the ATL, go check it out. But for once, we're finally going to have regional transit governance in this area. So that was a great question. I could talk about it for a long time, but needless to say, we are working really closely together. And I think being smaller cities, Chamblee's 30, you got 40, 50. You know, Sandy Springs maybe 80,000, and still smaller cities. Working very closely together is what truly is helping this region to move forward. Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask if you have put together any kind of plan to allow Chamblee to use alternate sources of energy.
You know, we're always looking at ways to make the city more efficient. We don't have a plan per se. I know Councilman Hogan's always pushing for solar. I think that you know it's a great use of energy, it's a great energy source. I know that we're kicking around those ideas. I think as part of the award that I mentioned earlier in being a green community, all of those things get brought up. And one of the things in going after more of those awards and trying to achieve higher levels, it requires our council and our staff to look even more into how we can look at those. I think as part of our town center development, I think, you know, Tom is really, I've heard him talk about really pushing where are the opportunities to incorporate some other forms of energy, and I think, you know, solar would be a good form of energy, and others. Chamblee was, there's a lot of times where I've said Chamblee's not only on the leading edge, we're on the bleeding edge. You know, when I said earlier about it was so hard during the recession to kind of hold to that vision, that's because we were really trying to completely change a development pattern from what people had known for decades into something completely different. Well, Chamblee ran around vehicles that were compressed natural gas years ago. And I remember sitting in a budget meeting years ago where they're like, we're getting rid of all of it because we couldn't get anybody to service the vehicles. We were just so far ahead of it. So if I learned anything from that, it was that, you know, and we're doing that with this autonomous vehicle. We want to make sure that we are, you know, we're keeping up with technological changes, but not getting so far ahead of it that we're hurting ourselves. You know, one of the things in years past, I've put a lot of quotes in here because y'all have been here before, heard me talk about Vince Lombardi. I'm a football guy, and I love Vince Lombardi quotes. But there's a quote that for me, I think resonates right now better than any other quote right now, and that is the one by the great one, Wayne Gretzky, who said, what makes a great hockey player is, well, a great hockey player skates to where the puck's going to be, not where the puck is. And that's what we're always looking to do. Where's that puck going? You know, you don't want to get out in front of it, and you sure as heck don't want to be behind it. And it's, you know, it's becoming an art as much as a science, and trying to balance all that. I've said, I don't know how you could be a transportation planner today. I know maybe some transportation planners in the room, but man, when you talk about transportation plans, you used to talk about 20, 30, 40-year plans. The technology changes so fast. I mean, you talk about 2-year plans. You know, if we're looking to run an autonomous shuttle in the city, and I hope we are really soon, it could be that that's not the technology that we're using, but it may help lead us towards other technologies. So yeah, we're always looking at other alternative ways of doing things. Great question. Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I realize you can't touch on every subject, you know, during.
Oh, I could, but everybody would get really bored and have to leave.
You're talking about the city of Chamblee's goals and partnerships and transportation. I have yet to hear you even mention PDK Airport. And, you know, we're in the city of Chamblee.
Sure.
You know, just our business alone has 150 employees that, you know, with the city of Chamblee's development and growth.
Right.
It really is encroaching.
And if I fail, and I apologize, sorry, if I failed to mention that when I was talking about that asset-rich environment that we have, when we did the study to show where that autonomous shuttle would run, and one of the places that it showed was a destination was DeKalb Peachtree Airport. And so I think that's a phenomenal asset. It is something that, you know, when you look around, we are trains, planes, and automobiles. I tell folks, you know, and David knows I like to coin the term, you know, the center of the universe, and David said it's the actual center of the universe. So I'm like, dude, he took it to another level for us. But when I talk to folks about it, I said, you know, I can have my rose-colored glasses on, and I can look out and go, I'm a mayor, and mayor says the center of the universe. And I tell people, if you live in a city and you're mayor does not think that your city is the center of the universe, then you should find a new mayor, right? Every mayor ought to think that about city. But let's get real, folks. You look around and look at the assets that we have in this area, and not least of which is DeKalb Peachtree Airport. You've got the 7th busiest general aviation airport in the world. And I'll tell you this is what I tell the story to some folks. I said, we are unique in the entire world. And this is why. And the 7th busiest general aviation airport in the country, I'm sorry. But this is why we're unique anywhere in the world. We have that asset sitting right there. We have a fixed rail station sitting in the center of our town in a southeastern United States where fixed heavy rail stations are rare. We've got one. We're bounded by interstate highways. We have 3 major state arterial roads running through our city. Right? We are trains, planes, and automobiles. And you know what makes us unique in the entire world is that our MARTA station is a 45-minute ride to the world's busiest airport that will take you just about anywhere in the world. I mean, we are sitting right at the perfect place. So I apologize I hadn't mentioned earlier. That's something that I think we're very proud of. Something that we did in conjunction with the county that should help the city or the airport is that, or with the airport, not necessarily the county, but one of the great things about annexing the area to the south of the city and not only bringing in a lot of great residents in other areas like Dresden Park and where we were able to purchase the Hearn property, but that was also that it used to be only half the airport was in the city of Chamblee. And now the entire airport is in the city of Chamblee. And I tried for years because I would see zoning cases come to us and they're like, okay, no metal buildings, signage issues, things that, you know, it just didn't fit. An airport doesn't fit, you know, in an industrial zoning classification, but I couldn't get anybody at the county to work with us it didn't make any sense to just rezone half the airport. Well, as we, whoops, I keep hitting that damn thing, stop talking to my hands. As we annexed the rest of the airport into the city, it gave us the opportunity, and we were required by the Department of Community Affairs to put zoning over the entire area that we annexed. I said, this is the opportunity. We came up with its own zoning classification for the airport. And that zoning classification should make it not necessarily easier, but more unified in how the airport operates differently than a typical industrial zone. So it has its own zoning classification that I think also helps exemplify the asset that it is. But thank you for the question. Yes, sir.
First of all, Eric, thank you for the leadership from yourself, the city council, the outstanding job by the police and our city employees. It's really appreciated to know this part of this. So you're talking about zoning.
Right.
And as a resident of Chamblee, there's explosive development in our residential neighborhoods. And many of my neighbors have noticed that there appear to be developments that violate our zoning rules. And it's changing the character of some of our neighborhoods, or has the opportunity. Is there a focus from yourself and our city government to ensure that our zoning ordinance?
Sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And if you're aware of any violations of our zoning code, please let our staff know. Let your council member know. Let me know. I'm not aware of any zoning violations that are taking.
Infill, you know, where more than one house built on single property.
And again, I don't know of any violations that are taking place at this point right now. So, and infill is an interesting conversation. It has been since it came up. There's very different sides of infill. But I can tell you one of the strategies or one of the philosophies I always felt that one of the things we want to do is protect our single-family detached subdivisions for the assets that they are. And then, you know, we build towards the core and build up in certain areas and where the zoning allows to be able to put in more of the densely populated commercial centers and mixed-use centers. The thing, I'll talk about infill housing. You know, one of the things I've said in Chamblee, and it's not popular to say in some circles, but you talk about housing choice, and it's real simple, real easy to get warm and fuzzy in talking about affordable workforce housing for seniors. And that's great, and we're working on doing that. We just cut the ribbon on a new senior... I'm just losing it all, right? We just cut the ribbon on a new senior facility with Mercy Housing. Very excited about that, looking for those opportunities, and there's more opportunities for that. But one of the things we don't have and haven't had in Chamblee is executive move-up housing. There hasn't been any of it. And so what you do is you become, things either get better or they get worse, right? And so I firmly believe in the domino theory. You're either moving forward or you're not. And typically what happens in the type of housing stock that we have in the city, it was very blue collar, had the factories in the area. It's gone through some cycles where folks have been an opportunity to pick up rental properties. they've been able to keep a property as they got married, and they owned a house, their spouse maybe owned a different house or a different condo, able to move in and keep rental properties. And a lot of times some of these houses were just continuing to run down. And then the other challenge that we've had is we're a very transient community. 65% of our residents live in some form of rental housing, right? So we're a very transient community, and one of the ways in order to keep your community from being so transient is to increase your home ownership. And so another way to do that is revitalize some of the neighborhoods. Another way to do it is to allow for larger homes and newer homes to go in neighborhoods and revitalize those areas. So I don't know of any homes that are violating codes. I know that infill housing is a very emotional issue, right? But that's the philosophy that I've stuck to. That's the philosophy that I believe that the council has bought into, and that again, these new houses are ways to revitalize our neighborhoods, not infringe upon anybody else's rights in any way. Yes, ma'am.
Eric, I've been accused many times of trying to have the last word.
And you know what, this may be the last question. Okay, so anybody else that wanted to ask a question, this is it, because I'm about to get the hook in. And I appreciate y'all. I haven't seen too many people get up and walk out. That's incredible.
I do want to commend you, and you know that I have publicly at ARC spoken about the great things that are happening here in Chamblee and this entire area. And I go back, and I'm telling you how far that I went door to door with my children to get MARTA passed. And it didn't pass by a whole lot. But I had people like Mr. Patillo and Randy Holmes, who then was with Hines, who took me on the roof to see the traffic jams that we had there, right, Randy? And the pride that I have now, that it takes hard work. And the fruition of the collaboration that we see here now is something that I have never witnessed before in DeKalb County, and I still say county. But the cities, to me, are now my pride and joy. To see the development going on and looking at everyone that's here today, recognizing that it just takes a good leader and your good commission, they're all here, to say thank you, thank you. The best is really yet to come.
Thank you, Liana. That means a lot for me. And since she mentioned we got a full council here, we got a quorum, maybe we could get some business done. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Well, after listening to those remarks, if you don't have a warm and fuzzy feeling about living in Chamblee, I don't know what you might have. So just one thing on a side note, I'm going to start taking names for donations. The first business that would like to be a sponsor on a banner stand, so we don't have a, I guess you call this a wardrobe malfunction, so we don't have that happen again. Come see me afterwards. I just wanted to very quickly touch base with you guys on a couple things that are going on. You have a handout on your table. So Chamblee Chamber happenings that we have coming up, please take note of these dates. May 2nd, we have a small business lending luncheon. May 15th, we have an HR law and best practices roundtable. On May 17th, we have the our chamber breakfast with Ted Jenkins from Oxygen Financial. And on May 24th, we have our business after hours networking at the new Mercy Care facility that opened in downtown Chamblee. So just wanted to call those things out. Also, when you look at being involved in organizations, I've actually done membership for organizations since I was in college. It seems every organization I've ever gotten involved in, my passion becomes getting more and more people involved in the organization. And so just from the chamber perspective, our programs, our events, and our membership and our revenue are all driven by our members. Without our members, we wouldn't exist. So if you're not a member of the chamber, I would encourage you to join. Any one of us would be happy to help you with that. And if you are a member of the chamber, I encourage you to get involved and volunteer. This is a 100% volunteer organization. Everything we do is all in our own time. You know, our phones are probably ringing and things that we need to do to get back to our offices. I will say I would like to call out our board of directors, that anybody that's here today, if you would please stand and recognize our board that works so hard to keep this organization going. That said, behind every man or organization is either a woman or some person who helps keep everything going. And I would be totally remiss without calling out our office administrator who really keeps things going for us, Aurora Santana. Lastly, just a little thing we're going to do here at the end. You have table centerpieces on your table. We're going to give those away to someone sitting at the table. And so what we've decided is it will be whoever's birthday is closest to today, but hasn't happened yet. So you all talk amongst yourself and you'll be able to decide who gets to take the floral arrangement home. But on behalf of the city and the Chamber of Commerce, thank you all very much for coming.